opposed to EDG.
Well, could be tricky here, but the teams will take to the champ select for the first time here tonight. LGD versus Vici over on the blue side for LGD. They've banned away Azir as Yasuo instantly gets a respect ban away from Godvi.
Yeah, taking that Yasuo off the board, a lot of respect here and a lot of target banning from this Vici side. Usually on red side you see a lot of particularly strong meta style of picks banned away so that it cannot be first picked by what is now this LGD team. But here we see.
Gragas banned as well. Victor also another ban. So 2 mid laners for LGD. As Kalista and Rise are the choices there for Vici. Rise creeping back into the patch it feels like. But Kalista, despite seeing a bit more play, is not a champion you're interested in giving Imp.
Yeah, Rise definitely wasn't focused a lot at all. In fact, he didn't get banned until people started to play him again. They all realized, hang on, he still does damage even after all of the nerfs. And Kalista, a very, very similar position, is that they tried and tested the new Kalista on these games after the nerfs happened and still overwhelmingly strong.
Yeah, especially for a lot of these supports and AD carry players in China. Just very good on that champion. Helps out the duo lanes nicely as Kog'Maw is actually the first pick here for LGD, leaving that Elise open, leaving some of the other power picks like Braum that we've seen as well. Vici going to get 2 strong picks here, and that's a statement from LGD.
That really is. And they said if that is hopefully a flex pick between Godvi and Imp, but in saying that,
so.
It has to be because it's first pick, right? Otherwise, they're committing everything into a Protect the Kog'Maw comp. They want to play that Juggernaut style if they already commit this early in the pick and ban phase to an AD carry Kog'Maw.
Yep, it's also just Godvi, so he plays just about everything.
Yes, very much so.
I have to think it is a flex. Certainly, I would trust Godvi to be able to play it, but a curious first pick for LGD and Vici. Sort of brush over the Elise. They take Alistar, Evelynn as their first 2 picks.
They certainly have, and they've got that front line well and truly set in stone now. They're going to have a big tank on Marta. Maybe want to look already for that lane swap because the Alistar, when unlocked at level 2 onwards, is deadly with the jungler. And World 6 on that Evelynn is not a guaranteed gank, so you may want that extra helping hand to ensure you can get successful ganks off.
Yeah, it's interesting for both these junglers. I'm not going to say they have strictly shallow champion pools, but they've shown only a key few champions to be the real strength here. As LGD brush over Elise, they were thinking about it, but they take Rek'Sai Lulu instead.
The Lulu pick is indicative again of Protect the Kog'Maw in that AD Kog'Maw position for Imp. We'll see what they do with their last rotation, but highly likely now that given the Lulu is on the map, you would assume for Godvi, PYL always wanted to be more of a playmaker than a passive style of support, so not likely to be that Lulu. That is a very dangerous composition, but super telegraphed by LGD. They have revealed their hand in the first rotation of their pick and ban.
And I like the way they picked this because I feel like teams often do it the other way, where they'll pick Lulu and then try and get Kog'Maw. And the team started figuring it out and just took Kog'Maw away. So now they're like, well, we'll take Kog'Maw. We can probably fit together enough supports that, we're not too worried. And they took Alistar, so they get the Lulu if they want it. Jinx is actually the response there from Vici. Shushwang going to take that one to try and match some of the scaling, and Orianna is the mid laner. So these 2 comps looking very similar so far.
They definitely are. They've got the hyper-scaling AD carries now, the Jinx and assumedly the Kog'Maw respectively. Both going to scale really well. They'll do a lot of damage late game, and now they're starting to build the rest of the team somewhat around those AD carries. They've got the Orianna and the Lulu, the control mages, going to be in that middle lane. They've got the shields, the utility, and zone control that the Orianna even possesses. Then the junglers. Rek'Sai, very good pick into the Evelynn, of course, does reveal Evelynn a lot and negates a lot of that early gank pressure that can be put down by World 6. But they're still going to be playing the pseudo-initiation option, but the top laners, they're going to have to be another initiation tool, and in this case, wouldn't mind the Gnar.
No, certainly LGD can make it work for themselves, as Bard actually has been locked in. PYL, not just a fan favorite champion for him anymore, he's going to take it. Very complex, big playmaking champion, as LGD also going to lock in that Gnar.
Yeah, they've locked in the Bard, a very aggressive decision here, and it adds, again, it does add a bit more aggression to this side, and another initiation option, a disengage potentially option, and just disruption in the fight. If you look at all of LGD's roster, they've got knockups everywhere. They've got stasis now that can be put into effect by this Bard, and it's all going to be working around kiting back and allowing this Kog'Maw to really put down the hurt.
I feel like Bard's skill ceiling is underrated because he can do so much, But consistently making big plays on the champion takes a lot of reps. Like, you need to play the champion a number of times.
That's the difficulty with Bard, though, and why people would pick any other support over Bard is that you are constantly trying to make plays opposed to consistently being able to make solid plays, whereas Bard can go that next level and make really game-changing plays as a support.
And I guess compared to Thresh, which might be the next best comparison, you just don't lane nearly as well. So, like, it's fine, but it's not Thresh.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have that reliability. The Lantern isn't guaranteed to, or the Bard isn't guaranteed to save anybody with a magical journey, whereas a Lantern 100% going to save that person. Team comms finished.
Yeah, Maokai, the last pick for Dandy, saw him play a lot of it yesterday, and his target selection has been out of this world.
Favorable matchup for Acorn, though. Of course, getting that Maokai, he will be very comfortable, especially once that Hex Drinker is completed. But the Vici team comp right now doesn't look like they want anyone to die anytime soon. They've got the double tanks, they've got a tank carry in the jungle, and then the 2 scaling carries in mid and AD respectively. It's a very standard team comp here from Vici Gaming. But if they execute it right, there's no direct counter to a standard comp.
I think my favorite thing might just be how teamfight oriented it is. Because we saw them play a lot of Civi yesterday. They're doing the same old Vici, rotate around the map, just outplay you and dance around you. And all of a sudden, we saw a bit of fight out from Vici in their last game, in particular against OMG. And now they have an actual 5v5 comp. They don't have to play that way, but having the option means, again, Vici are very quickly evolving as a team. As we go through our matchups, Akon on that Gnar versus Dandy on Maokai.
Yeah, this matchup we mentioned does slightly favor the Gnar, but of course Dandy has a lot of early pressure that can be put into place and a lot of sustain as we move towards our junglers.
Yeah, TBQ on Rek'Sai versus World 6 in the Evelyn. Bit of a soft counter there again for LGD as he moved to the mid lane now. Godby actually on the big control mage of Lulu versus Pong's Orianna.
And a somewhat dangerous matchup as it can go either way. So no counters this time for LGD, but we move towards the AD carries again, and scaling is the word of the day.
Yep, lots of scaling and then lots of plays here in the bottom lane. Good tools for both POL and Marta. Decent roaming as well for both. Probably slightly better on the Alistar side. But again, surprisingly similar teams when you match them up. Be curious to see how they play the first game. Momentum's a big factor in any best of 5. But I'm just excited for some of these matchups. POL, Marta, Akon, Dandy. It's great.
Yeah, and of course we're going to be first game of this best of 5 coming up very soon.
And with that, let's get on to the Rift for game number 1. And welcome back onto the Rift for our first game of tonight's best of 5 here in the LPL playoffs. LGD taking on Vici. Teams finishing pretty close to each other in the standings. And now we're going to battle off in that safety spot here. We're playing for seeding, but it's still important. A long series awaits these two teams and even more games after this.
Yeah, it may be seeding, but of course, as you said, super important because you don't want to be the team that takes on EDG, and the losers potentially can. So coming into this best of 5 series, no team looking to go down whatsoever. And I mean, previous matches against each other, it actually favors Vici.
Yeah, it's been dead even. I think record all time is 4-4, if I recall correctly. So, and recent games certainly have started to go Vici's way a bit more. A team that really made a lot of changes this season, but kind of surged late. And their playoff form in particular, like we expect of almost all the top 8 teams, they've only looked better. So, also cool to see how LGD are going to play. Yeah,
and it's funny because 7th took out 8th. 6th took out 7th, and now we're looking at 5 and 6, and the trend may or may not still continue, but we'll see what does actually unfold in this game as we are starting to hit a point where people may want to do things other than place wards.
Well, right now it's just a bunch of wards being placed. Trying and Marta, they're going to go to the Gromp as their first potential camp, and LGD are on the other side. They've lane swapped the Bard Kog'Maw lane, probably with good reason.
Definitely with good reason. You want to unlock PYL on this Bard, but in saying that, it does unlock Marta at the same time. And that will be very interesting because these two, we mentioned it's a very heavy support matchup between these two teams. They're now both completely available to do as they would please from the start of this laning phase.
Gromp's going to be taken again. You can see POL started with the binding. Use it to reduce some of that damage, and Marta and Chuang going to trade tank here as well. Unfortunately for them, or fortunately, depending on how you want to think about it, no 2v2 for either of them. So they'll get the early experience, they'll get some CS, but they'll both walk into their respective 2v1s.
And this favors both of the AD carries at pretty much the exact same amount as they both scale with levels very nicely. They get increased range on all of their auto attacks, and then the damage, they get those ultimates as soon as possible. And so evenly matched in terms of team compositions, it's going to come down heavily to that execution.
Yep. See mid lane for a bit there. Pong getting the early level 2. Able to harass down, but a nice glitter lance there from Godby. Just keeping it at arm's length here. This is a very... I feel like this is a matchup we used to see a lot of.
Yeah, it throws back a little while to an older style of meta where these two champions in another day and age were very, very popular. But of course, control mages are always relevant, Pastry Time, irrespective of the meta. So they've snuck their way back in one more time. Lulu in 514 is really important just because of the way that she can work around the rest of your team, and hyper carries are a very big factor right now.
Yeah, we can see that here for both sides, like you said, scaling AD carries, and even, I would say pretty tanky top laners, but they'll be happy for the additional stats there as well. As we do see a gank coming in, Puong forced to flash the 4-man that was going to be there. Good roam there from the 3 LGD members.
Yeah, Acorn jungling with his partner here, TBQ, but they also even gave him the free Raptor experience. So he just decided to finish those Raptors off and has maintained base with his jungler TBQ. They found an opportunity to gank mid and forced a flash before anything could be had. Marta's now top lane, wants to defend this.
And PYL's back here. We've actually got 4 members of LGD sort of in the area. Dandy's going to rotate up as well, try and prevent this turret from going down. And LGD, they'll kind of break into a 2v2 here. Curious to see if Vici keep this lane the way it is.
Yeah, no way to dive these two, but if they're looking to have a 2 versus 2 lane as a Maokai and an Alistar, they are going to be on a slow decline towards defeat in this 2 versus 2. So we'll see how long they can maintain strength in a lane like that 4. Not necessarily ideal, but out of necessity, as the Jinx seemingly content up against Acorn on this Gnar.
Yeah, Acorn TPing down means that he'll start to collect some farm and maybe get ahead of Dandy here, although Marta's going to be able to lead this lane relatively well. And as it turns out, we have a bit of a weird one as far as early lanes go as well. 6. Gonna face check that. Tremor Sense helping out nicely. Flash forward. Godby wants it and he will get it. It's first blood.
Well played from TBQ in terms of his positioning. Oh, they're fighting top.
PYL's going on a magical journey. He's trying to get Marta down. Dandy, little low on mana there as Imp's going to ride the way in. That was a funky 2v2.
Yeah, it was. But at the same time, TBQ finding that first blood onto World 6 has now made his way immediately to that top lane afterwards. It seems like he wants to dive Marta or at least pressure them. Really risky because you're diving a Maokai Alistar. In fact, I would give it the big no button.
Yeah, well, they're trying to push in, see if they can line up the dive. Imp throws out an auto attack, but not going to overly commit. Just takes the Caretaker Shrine there from Bard, gets a bit of health back, and LGD will not overcommit. They'll hang out.
Pressuring them, of course, trying to get them away from as many last hits as possible. Keep that Maokai down because Gnar is the real beneficiary of this situation that both of the teams have found themselves in. Of course, Jinx from Vici, great position getting that solo experience and farm, but Kog'Maw's matching the CS discrepancy. The only real advantage is now that Acorn, if he finds himself ever not zoned, will get solo experience.
And there's Dandy, going to get smacked by Bard. Does get queued up, but hits a couple of Bard autos and goes back to under his tower. It's safe. Imp is working on the tower, but it'll take a couple more waves pushing in for him to get it.
He's got a cannon wave coming in this wave, so it'll get accelerated a little bit more than it otherwise would have been. Acorn really struggling when he hits that Mega Gnar form because he can't farm as efficiently. And now that Marta has made his way back towards his bottom lane, he's going to have to get some support.
Yep, they'll start pushing in now, and you can already see another movement from LGD. They'll move their support and jungler down to the bottom lane now. Godby has found World 6. Puong's out in the area as well, but he's only level 5. Godby does have his ulti. They got a blue buff there. I think it's his blue. Don't think he stole it away. And yeah, he's about to run out, so I assume he got that relatively recently.
You would assume as much, given that the next blue should be up soon. I think he may have got it from the kill on the Evelyn, I guess.
Yep, that would make sense.
And he is actually in a very comfortable position in his middle lane. Eve having a very rough time here, World 6. Try as he might to get something done anywhere, he's now not able to do a thing.
And all the jungle coverage has been very clever from LGD.
It's all dead.
Dandy's chasing Imp here. Not a bad matchup. Dandy's going to try and slay his former teammate. Almost gets it, but Imp turns it around. And World 6, he's on the bottom looking for the dive. Imp, I don't think he wants to be in the shop. The Jigsaw coming. Oh, rides in. Imp will miss. Pops the heal there as well. And World 6 does not commit to the dive.
That would have been very risky from World 6. It did well to actually pop a heal out, and that was mostly from Xuan's Jinx ultimate opposed to pressure from this Evelynn at all. And speaking of pressure, these guys are everywhere across this map right now, trying to find picks everywhere they can. Deep vision, pick placement. It's this new side of Vici, but LGD are all too familiar with it.
Yeah, and it's been great to see, I think, 2 or 3 different lane swaps, possibly more in the first 8 minutes of this game. We sort of talked to the support matchup, said, hey, Mata PYL, they direct their team, they're big on movement, they're really smart, intelligent players, and I think just the first 10 minutes of this game already point to that matchup.
Oh, 100%. The supports have been everywhere and really influencing a lot of the map movement in this game so far, and of course, neither team actually finding an advantage from all of this map movement that has been occurring, but they're trying desperately to get it going. Mid laner having a CS advantage and a kill, though, is really big for LGD.
Imp Sheen there as well, doing work in the bottom lane. Imp almost kills Xuan, does have his heal, so probably going to be safe as Mata helps heal Jinx up as well, but you can see starting to get an advantage as they're swapped back into the 2v2.
It's this consistent pressure that LGD are putting in place right now. They know the blue buff is available for the Orianna, and the pings already came out from PYL. He's making his way up there potentially just to get some vision. Risky considering Godby just got his own blue, so in terms of map control, it's not theirs. But you can see it's being pinged now already. They are so very far ahead of the curve in terms of decision making or knowing where Vici are going to be. This is exactly why they are 1-0 up in this game right now in terms of kills, and they're finding CS advantages.
Yeah.
Ever so slightly, but they are.
I like what Imp's doing in this lane. He's just running up, hitting his W, and if he ever takes damage, he just runs back and eats like some health.
That's the best thing about a Bard, mate. If the Bard can actually be unlocked, and as in you're stuck under your tower for VG Gaming in this case, he can actually sustain with enough mana to be able to roam, get those chimes, and put down consistent shrines. In which case you could be a hyper-aggressive Cogmore and retreat back to your safety bush.
Yep, that's what he's been doing as World 6 takes the Scuttle Crab. Gonna clear out a bit of space there and might look to bottom lane. Is level 6 now. So going to have a bit of a better time as far as the gank goes, but risky potentially, especially with Godby off the map.
No, it's risky because Godby's not visible, but at the same time, Hong was looking threatening around that bottom area. If Lulu revealed himself, they would have probably gone immediately towards that dragon. So smartly doesn't show, working around areas of no vision, and then just comes back to that middle lane. Everything, again, reset.
And now the mid lane is just starting to get involved in these roams. It's been a real chess match, honestly, of the first 10 minutes of this game, but great to watch these two great minds and teams go at it. And First Blood for LGD does give them a lead. 1,000 gold is not shabby at all this early in the game. But it's just a matter of kind of the next big objective, or the first big one. The first tower or maybe the first dragon.
I would say most likely towers over the dragon, based off all the heavy rotational play that is actually coming out right now. And they're both macro teams, so it is always beautiful to watch the unfolding of decision-making from both of these respective shot callers as they make their way around. And it's not even the junglers, which is the interesting part, of course. We've mentioned it time and again. Mata and POA are making these things happen, but World 6 and TBQ getting involved, Godby and Pong as well, playing their part in trying to make things happen, but no one actually pulling the trigger, because it is a big game of cat and mouse right now. Trying to find someone out of position outright so that you can take free kills, because they don't need to take these risks yet.
Yeah, and you can see that First Blood is exactly that. Just a nice pick there from LGD. But it's been fairly quiet after that. I like that you mentioned the teams being similar. Certainly agree at a macro level, but players like Imp and Godby do not come along very often. So I certainly trust in the new players for Vici, but Huang and Chuang gonna have to really step up against these star World Championship tier players.
Yeah, they have to rise to the occasion against this LGD team, because the longer the game goes, the more confident you're going to be in the carries of this LGD side. Of course, Imp and Godby, world-class level players. We don't know a whole lot about Pong and Xuan, but they do seem to perform when it comes down to the crunch. They're going to be tested, though, 100% in this game.
They will. As we do have an ult out there, forcing the flash from Huang. Roam does go slightly wide there from PYL, but a good attempt there in mid lane. That's the sort of thing Bard can get done.
And still, forcing the flash out of this Orianna enables potential dives, numbers advantages in areas where Godby now has control, particularly in this laning phase. TBQ, you can see, already pressuring the tower here there.
Yeah, TBQ going to move in. Done a nice job controlling with this Rek'Sai, just sort of moving around. Burrow trying to see what he can see. And Godby's got a decent CS lead. He's up about 5. Probably extend that. Schwan could be in trouble. Does have the heal. Isn't going to pull the trigger while Imp, but forces them out of lane once more.
BYL wishing he had his ultimate this time perhaps, but both summoners not being used by neither the support nor the AD carry of VG Gaming, but it also gives LGD the advantage here to start up the Dragon. Lanes are winning respectively on the bottom half of the map for this LGD team, and now they get the first objective, most likely for nothing. Jinx may try and some cute rockets still, but not likely.
Keep an eye on the cooldown, but good play here from LGD. It's going to secure them that first Dragon. It's PYL that claims it with an auto. But again, the steal not coming there for Vici. No contest. And it is the first big objective going to LGD.
This is really good for LGD, but again, Vici, they've got the terrain advantage around the Dragon, so when it spawns in another 6 minutes, they've got the timer ready to go for them. They should be there and be prepared for Dragon number 2.
Well, instead, we'll move back into our lanes and farm up a little more. Towers seem surprisingly healthy, actually. So not going to be taken anytime soon.
Lots of wave clear, though, from both of the teams. So very difficult to actually get to one another's towers and put any damage down at all. If they do get to the turrets, they will take a whole lot of damage, but Jinx has the rockets for wave clear. Imp's got that Void Ooze he can throw down to the ground. And then Lulu Orianna, need to say anymore.
Yeah, no, it's a testament to how well the teams played their early game as well, making sure to not lose any ground early on. We'll look down at some early itemization instead. Athene's there already out for Godby. It's actually matched by Pwong's Orianna, so similar starts there. Infinity Edge on the way for Schwang with a Trinity Force almost done up for him. And a Phage early on for Acorn. Wants to sort of bully Dandy a bit in the matchup. He's up about 5 CS, so doing an okay job.
Yeah, doing well in the top lane, Acorn, of course. It's meant to be a decent lane for this Nard to be in, especially once he gets going with itemization. I said a Hex Drinker, but he's looking for more of an aggressive build. Will be very interesting to see how that does unfold against his opponent, who is going for that Righteous Glory first. Looking to scale a little bit later into the game, not getting effective resistances immediately.
Well, just going to have to grit and bear it. That's the life of the Malco lane, I feel like. But instead, LGD going to square back up 2v2, and Imp, he's actually opened up a nice CS lead, 20 up already. Pretty much refusing to leave his lane, because he's got plenty of extra health coming from PYL.
Yeah, and honestly refusing to let up the pressure at the same time. He has not relented whatsoever. Of course, not getting a whole lot of damage down onto the turret, as you mentioned earlier. But this Alistar has not had an opportunity to do anything in laning phase, because if he tries to even get a Relic Shield stack off, he loses half of his health.
And Mato does have his ultimate, but doesn't want to waste it getting poked down. World 6 now going to sneak his way into this lane. I like a little recall there from Mato. Oh, gets spotted. And Danny's dead in the top lane. Nice gank from TVQ.
Acorn, of course, being Mega Gnar, you can see the ultimate has been used by him, and having that Phage available does give him a lot of chase potential in mini and Mega Gnar form alike. And while we're talking about it, winning lanes from LGD right now, they're in the driver's seat in this game because they're starting to snowball from individual mechanics alone. It's up to Vici from here on to try and make things happen before it starts to slip away.
Well, it does start to get a little hairy now for Vici as we're going to watch this kill.
So the flash will get used by Dandy, you would imagine, after this, trying to get to safety, but TBQ finds him. Ooh. That knockoff actually still connecting at the same time as the flash, and for the most part, it was mostly Acorn.
Yeah, Acorn. I mean, you talked about the matchup before. Nar can certainly get an edge, especially once he gets the aggressive itemization online. So
wow. That itemization choice from Dandy, though, says, I want nothing to do with Acorn.
I don't like you.
Doesn't like him.
No, goes for that quick Warden's Mail. Going to shake off some of those autos. There's Trinity Force also done for Imp. Finally gets his first back in, but Schwan has matched first items here with an Infinity Edge. But Imp, you can see the power already. Huge chunks of Marta's health bar. Oh, they're going in. Good combo there from Marta. World 6 going to come in with the ulti. Bard ultimate doesn't quite get the TP. He wanted it, but Imp's going to flash out instead. The Jinx up follows through, and Acorn's forced to flash out. Now TBQ going to try and get the knock-up, but he's taking a little too much damage.
Oh, nice stun.
Good double stun, but LGD will disengage.
And nobody is going to go down. Of course, Imp with that hyper-aggression trying to protect his own wards. Well, now he's got 4 to protect us. World 6 is making his way in. PYL has something to say about it.
No stun there, actually. Good spacing from World 6, but Imp going to follow through. And again, Trinity Force Cogmore is not a joke.
And we mentioned this earlier. He does not cease in his relentless pursuit to find a kill right now. Imp is showing hyper-aggression looking to just utilize his mechanical abilities and outplay everyone, and it's kind of pushing Vici into a very defensive position.
He's playing so forward. It's almost like the Lulu's behind him constantly.
He's playing like he's a Juggernaut already.
Yeah.
Like he's in the mindset ready to go. Vici haven't capitalized on that whatsoever. They do have the Evelyn, so you would have imagined that that was possible. But of course, TBQ has had World 6's number.
That one's in trouble. Dandy's down here as well, but Imp's going to get locked up. PYL's going to get the first kill. Imp looking to die here as Dandy will get the counter kill.
Oh, the farm.
That was cute.
That was beautiful. PYL making sure he gets something for his trouble.
Godby in the mid lane or near the mid lane. Takes out Evelyn in the jungle there as well. LGD have gotten so many random pickoffs in this game.
And they're things that should not be happening, honestly, because they're getting leads from laning phase and just smart rotations. PYL utilizing his ultimate to force flashes out of Pong. They've caught Evelyn out of position twice now. He has quite literally done nothing for his team in this game. But he's the one player that really does need to step up. Marta's struggling to make anything happen because Imp is keeping Xuan down in laning phase, controlling the lane. Akon doing the exact same thing. It comes down to drafting.
And now a gank as well. TVQ running into that mid lane. Godby not quite able to eke out a good lance. Good snipe, actually. Does get some poke down. Geometry.
Too easy.
Well, and Dragon up in 10 seconds. LGD have already prepped for it. And Vici have fallen significantly far behind already. 19 minutes in, they're about 4,000 gold down. World 6 on the wrong side of the map to contest for this Dragon. It should go over to LGD.
And this is just the ideal situation to start in if you were LGD. Game 1 of a best of 5, and they control laning phase against a macro-oriented team just shows that they're confident in their individual mechanics. They can prolong laning phase, and again, the drafting just seems to favor LGD right now.
PYL does get caught up by Marta. Dandy going to follow in. That's a good flash. Magical journey.
That was the shortest journey
it was
possible.
Not sure I wanted to go quite that far. That does get to safety. It's Vici, however, with Godby backing, do get first dibs on this second Dragon.
Yeah, now Vici have got control of the pit. Nice to see a proactive play.
Then the poke out. Bardot hits Dandy. One sort of isolated here. Marta kiting up, but PYL's just going to try and run them around the rift. Needs to line up another stun.
Oh
does get
God.
a great double, and PYL's looking to get away. Dandy's jumped in onto Into, but Bwong out of position gets the double as Imp's going to take him out. Meganar's now out, scoops in onto World 6. Knock up there from TBQ, and Imp will claim the double. Might be 3 there as PYL ulted up by Lulu. Should be safe, and Dandy gets turned into a cupcake and killed by the Bard.
That became a protect the PYL composition just then. He goes massive in that, managing to live for... He had no reason being alive, I'll put it that way. He gets the magical journey, dodges the Jinx ultimate by juking downwards, even though the turret was there. So, small misplay from Xuan. They follow the journey through and he gets a double stun to safety. And meanwhile, the rest of this LGD side, Akon was stacking that Meganar. TBQ was trying to knock everyone up possible, and Godby making his way in. Came in at the very end to save PYL, and this is, again, they are playing around their support.
Yeah, and that's just so great to watch here from LGD. We talked about Bard being a playmaking champion. You do definitely get rewarded for having high situational awareness.
Definitely, and something I noticed earlier, I'm not sure if that's even a thing, but he altered the ward that Maokai was teleporting to, and Maokai stopped moving for about a second after the teleport finished.
We'll have to check the tape on that one.
Need to actually watch that sometime.
Well, Akon, speaking of top laners, Distortion boots up already for the extra teleport and flash and the Black Cleaver. He is answering the Warden's mail from Dandy with a very bold statement saying, hey, want to keep laning? Dandy's probably like, not really. Don't really like the lane very much. Yeah. And with good reason.
Well, Dandy actually wanted to continue laning as Akon. Kind of misses the house. They might want to go pick that one up, mate. There we go. That helped you out a bit. But like in regards to actually getting the Warden's mail, it says that you want to continue laning. You just don't want to be hit by Akon on this task. So you want to prolong the laning phase, get that Righteous Glory, work towards a Spectre's cow before you start team fighting. And that's exactly why he went for that. But Akon's saying, well, mate, I know you want to be in this lane, but you're going to have a hard time now I have a Black Cleaver.
Are you sure? Maybe not so sure anymore.
That strategy.
LGD, though, actually getting aggressive. Just going to push in onto the mid lane. Get a decent amount of damage done. Dandy has TP'd in already. He's got a good track around the back. But Godby's going to chase him down. They've spotted him out. They'll happily pick him off here. It does so much damage. Marta's going to try and kick TBQ out. He gets knocked up. The ulti's not there. Oh, Bard kind of in the middle there, doesn't quite get it, but Imp is going to get the kill. Huge ult there from Akon, scoops him out as Pwong gets his ulti down, but it doesn't do enough damage. TBQ is going to get the first kill. Marta looks to be the next target. A 3-man pole into the flash might get him safe. It was actually 4 as well. 6 down, bit chase down, and Imp insta flashes for the second kill. Kog'Maw so aggressive, and now Marta getting chased down by TBQ. Nowhere to go, and that's going to be an ace.
LGD play that fight perfectly right there. Every individual member, we've been saying it since the very beginning of this game.
And Vici are done.
That was just so simple from LGD. Clockwork. They force a surrender that early in the game.
That last play from Imp.
Yeah.
Ulting and then immediately flashing because he knows the other guy was dead.
Getting the Sheen proc. Had a Lulu.
Oh.
Picks helping him out as well.
And Akon with a big smile on his face.
That's ridiculous.
I would be too if I hit those Nara ultimates. Marta looking back at his team saying, guys, game did not go nearly as well as we would have wanted to.
At least they're happy.
Yeah, cracking a smile. It's only game 1, don't forget. But PYL looking at the camera, smiling. You can still tell through the face mask. He's happy. And the PYL fans are happy as well. Signs go up in the crowd. And LGD play, I think, the fastest game of the playoffs.
That was
insane.
Yeah. They forced a surrender, like, what was it, 23 minutes? Yeah.
Less than.
Unbelievable how well they played that.
Yeah, 22 minutes
22
surrender.
minutes.
22 and a half or something. But LGD do, in fact, win. You can see the thumbs up from the crowd. They liked that game. We liked it too. And what a way to start the best of 5 from LGD.
Exactly. Again, every single member of LGD. PYL, the playmaker for his team in that game. But everyone else, they played exactly how they were required to play. The Kog'Maw sitting in that front line. Godv facilitating the rest of his team, making it happen. And then Akon in that top lane, hitting all the Nars, knocking them back towards his team. They look like a seamless unit.
It did look very seamless there from LGD. Playoff form looking strong, but it's only game number 1. Don't go too far away. We'll take a break. And when we return, it'll be game number 2 between Vici and LGD.